From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome tonight. Vice President Kashim Shettima leads an array of dignitaries to Asaba for the Delta State Investment Forum, says the federal government is ready to support credible investment by working with states to remove obstacles to enterprises. Senate Committee on Public Accounts issues a 72-hour ultimatum to the NNPCL, the CBN, NDDDC, NUPRC and other agencies to appear before it over their failure to honor invitations to respond to audit queries. The Presidential Working Group on the National Policing Bill initiates nationwide consultations aimed at establishing a legal framework to safeguard the effective implementation of state police. And Iran denies Donald Trump's claim that new talks on ending the conflict will begin on Monday.
And on business news, Brent crude falls nearly 5% as Donald Trump halts a planned military strike on Iran.
On sports news tonight, Super Falcons coach Justin Madugu warns no more room for errors as the WAFCON title holders shift attention to final group game against Egypt in Rabat.
From the nation's capital, West Africa Democratic Network advocates stronger regional collaboration and citizen participation to protect democracy in the sub-region.
Vice President Kashim Shettima says the federal government stands ready to support credible investments, strengthen enabling institutions, and work with states to remove obstacles to enterprises. Vice President Shettima stated this at the opening of the Delta State Economic and Investment Summit 2026 held in Asaba. Now, speaking at the event, Governor Sheriff Oborevori announced that the sum of $100 million have already been set aside to de-risk new investments in Delta State. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
The Delta State Economic and Investment Summit 2026 attracts dignitaries, including Vice President Kashim Shettima and the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, as well as investors from within and outside Nigeria. The summit focuses on harnessing the economic potential of Delta State in the areas of special economic zone, blue economy and transport infrastructure, digital economy and innovation, agriculture, solid minerals and mining, as well as energy ecosystem.
Right Honorable Elder Sharif Oberewole, Governor of Delta State, to address us.
Governor Sharif Oborevori in his opening speech says Delta State is ready for business by providing an enabling environment for investors to thrive.
Through this summit, we hope to connect ideas with capital, forge strategic partnerships, and maximize our competitive advantages as a state to build an enduring legacy of wealth and prosperity for the maximum benefit of current and future generations of Deltans and residents in the states. So our goal today is to partner with prospective investors with overriding objective of building a modern economy that is strongly diversified and therefore can withstand external shocks in line with the policy imperatives of the more agenda of this administration.
Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, GCON.
Speakers, including the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, underscored the strategic position Delta State occupies in Nigeria's economy as they urge the state government to prioritize its deployment of capital.
I've sketched out the opportunities awaiting the Delta State and they're rather exciting. What you have to decide now is how to deploy your capital. This summit is about taking care of the gold in our backyard, of starting the years of hard work needed to deliver on our people's hopes and aspirations for better lives, on demonstrating that Delta can and will compete for investment and become the industrial hub for Nigeria that I want it to be.
Welcome to the microphone. Thank you, sir.
The keynote speaker, Professor Patrick Lumumba, who calls for unity among African countries, discourages what he calls over-reliance on foreign investors as against investors from within the continent.
You wanted an expert on Africa, continental free trade area. You don't look to Africa. And that is tragic, Honorable Governor. It is equally tragic that in our interpretation and understanding of who an investor is in the continent of Africa, we still don't think that fellow Africans are investors. We think, and allow me to be blunt, that our investors must be Malaysians. We think that our investors must be Brazilians. We think that our investors must be Chinese. That is not the case.
Please welcome His Excellency Senator Kashim Shettima, GSON.
For Vice President Kashim Shettima, the federal government will continue to support businesses in the country.
I thank His Excellency Governor Oborowori for this bold leap towards a greater Delta and for creating a platform that matches the ambition of his people. The federal government stands ready to support credible investments, strengthen enabling institutions, and work with the state to remove obstacles to enterprise. We are co-travelers on the road from promise to production, from allocation to transformation, and from potential to prosperity.
With the speeches over, the Vice President and other guests toured the exhibition pavilion at the venue of the summit, with different organizations showcasing their brands and services for interested investors.
Beyond the opening session during this 3-day Economic and Investment Summit, the Delta State government is looking to win both local and international investors. But one thing that has played up at this opening ceremony is the need for the government to invest more in the enablers of economic and investment sustainability, such as power, security, and manpower development. From the Dome Event Center in Asaba, Delta State, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Still on the summit, Delta State's campaign to position itself as a preferred investment destination is gathering stronger backing as industry leaders identify dependable electricity and effective public-private collaboration as critical drivers of sustainable industrial expansion. Chairman of Transcorp Power Holdings, Mr. Tony Elumelu, reaffirmed the company's commitment to supporting the state's industrial ambitions through a reliable power supply, describing stable electricity as essential for boosting manufacturing, creating employment opportunities, and accelerating economic growth. Also speaking, Chairman and Chief Executive of Mosra Energy, Olukayode Ramos, underscored the importance of stronger public-private partnerships, noting that sustained collaboration between government and the private sector remains vital to unlocking Delta State's full industrial and investment potential.
Delta is very safe for investment, hospitable, and very receptive to people. As a group, our group, one of the things we do in our group, we're into power generation and power distribution. Everything we discuss here needs to be powered. We need to provide electricity to make sure it works. In Delta State, we have a 1,000 installed electricity generating capacity at Wheelie. They call Transcorp Power Wheelie. Unfortunately, we do about 500 megawatts a day because of some constrained gas issues and evacuation issue. But, Mr. Governor, we would like to discuss with you to see how we can help or partner with you, with Delta State, to make electricity generation and distribution to the last home in Delta State affordable and possible. I believe that will help us to truly create employment, alleviate poverty, and industrialize our state. So that will be our group's contribution to what you're doing here. Thank you for what you're doing there.
Our partnership with the Delta State government to develop 600 megawatts mine-mouth power plant in Obonkpa and the proposed energy and industrial special economic zone in Aniocha is a demonstration of what is possible when government and private enterprise work together with a shared vision. But our ambition goes far beyond building a power plant. Let me put this into perspective. 200 million tons of proven coal reserve in Delta State is not just a geology. It represents over 30 years of continuous, guaranteed baseload power. That is enough continuous electricity to fuel industrial manufacturing. Manufacturing, technology hubs, and processing plants right here in Delta soil without interruption. We are not just lighting up a grid. Under the More agenda, we are anchoring West Africa's next industrial powerhouse.
Away from the Delta Investment Summit to the National Assembly now, where the Senate Committee on Public Accounts has issued a 72-hour ultimatum to the NNPCL, the CBN, the Niger Delta Development Commission, and the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission and other agencies to appear before it over their failure to honor invitations to respond to audit queries. The committee handed down the directive during its meeting today after officials of the invited agencies failed to appear without offering any formal explanation. The chairman of the committee, Senator Ibrahim Dankwambo, threatened sanctions, describing their absence as a blatant disregard for the constitutional oversight powers of the National Assembly and an affront to Nigerians who expect accountability in the management of public resources. The Presidential Working Group on the National Policing Bill has launched nationwide consultations aimed at establishing a robust legal and operational framework to help safeguard the effective implementation of state policing across the country. Addressing State House correspondents, Chief of Staff to President Bola Tinubu, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, who is the chairman of the group, said the initiative aims to design a lawful, professional and sustainable dual policing system that brings policing closer to the people. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lasisi, reports.
Members of the Presidential Working Group on the National Policing Bill, led by its chairman and Chief of Staff to President Bola Tinubu, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila. Also in attendance is the Minister of Justice, the Inspector General of Police, the Governor of Ogun State, the President of the Nigerian Bar Association, and other members of the group. The chairman outlines the key task before the group.
This is a monumental reform that Nigerians have debated over for many years. The question before the country is how we transform our policing architecture to become more responsive to the realities of our communities. Thus, our central task is now to design a lawful, professional, and sustainable federal and state policing system that places greater capability closer to the people while presenting national standards, national security, and the rights of every Nigerian.
He also addresses the relationship between the bill and the state police bill passed by the National Assembly.
The constitutional amendment creates the authority, if you like, the permission, and broad architecture for federal and state policing. However, it does not by itself provide the complete operating system. It does not settle the questions on standards, certification, recruitment, training, funding, command, or jurisdiction complaints.
Other members of the group touch on other aspects of the bill.
What happens for states who have not been able to come on board? Like it has been said, law abhors vacuum, so the federal presence will continue to dominate in that area. And on the issue of minimum standard, so
this bill has to do with different consequential amendments to other parts of the Constitution that we may not even realize. For example, the firearms bill, which only allows and recognizes a unitary policing system, now has to be, and so many other bills.
The Presidential Working Group says the consultation process on the National Policing Bill will unfold in phases and is inviting the public to submit memoranda and contributions towards the bill. From the Presidential Villa, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, the Department of State Services asked the Federal High Court in Abuja to close the defense case in the ongoing trial of Omoyele Sowore. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you have just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Vice President Kashim Shettima leads an array of dignitaries to Asaba for the Delta State Investment Forum, or Summit rather, and says the federal government is ready to support credible investments by working with states to remove obstacles to enterprises. Senate Committee on Public Accounts issues a 72-hour ultimatum to the NNPCL, the CBN, NDDC, NUPRC and other agencies to appear before it over their failure to honor invitations to respond to audit queries. The Presidential Working Group on the National Policing Bill initiates nationwide consultations aimed at establishing a legal and operational framework to safeguard the effective implementation of state police. And Iran denies U.S. President Donald Trump's claim that new talks on ending the conflict will begin on Monday after the U.S. President called off what he said will have been massive strikes on the country. The Department of State Services, the DSS, has prayed the Federal High Court in Abuja to foreclose the defense in the ongoing trial of online publisher and presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, Omoyele Sowore, for allegedly frustrating his trial. A counsel to the DSS, Mr. Akinlolu Kehinde, made the application before Justice Mohammed Umar after Mr. Sowore's lawyer, Adeyinka Olumide Fushika, sought an adjournment in the matter. Mr. Olumide Fushika sought an adjournment, saying documents approved by the court on July the 27th were only released to him on Monday, leaving him without sufficient time to prepare for the cross-examination of his next witness, a DSS official. However, counsel to the DSS, Mr. Akinlolu Kehinde, opposed the request, describing it as a delay tactic and urged the court to foreclose the defense. The submission by Mr. Kehinde sparked a war of words between the two senior lawyers, with Mr. Olumide Fushika rejecting the allegation and accusing the prosecution of persecution. Justice Umar subsequently adjourned the case to September the 28th this year for continuation of the defense, while the prosecution counsel later apologized to the court, the legal profession, and those present over the incident. So now let's head to the nation's capital, and Millicent Walker is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Great to see you again, Millicent. Over to you.
Always. Many thanks, Ayatunde. Well, it's a call for members of the West African Democracy Solidarity Network, WADEMOS. They're advocating stronger regional collaboration and increased citizens' participation in governance to protect democracy in the region. The civil rights activists spoke against the backdrop of what they described as shrinking democratic and civic space in the West African region following the recent military takeover in Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger Republic, Chad, among others.
A network of civil society leaders from Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and some other West African countries are gathered in this hall. And the crux of the discussion is about strengthening citizen participation in governance and regional integration in the face of recent threats to democracy.
If you look around the sub-region, notwithstanding the uncomfortable rise in military takeover, civilian coups are now even gradually squaring up and even surpassing what the military is doing in the sub-region.
At a time where ECOWAS faces profound questions about its legitimacy, cohesion, and relevance to its citizens, Senegal's leadership presents a unique opportunity to renew the community-founding vision of an ECOWAS of people. Operationalizing the ECOWAS ECOSOC should be elevated to a strategic priority.
Also on the table is the need to strengthen regional collaboration and bridge the gap between governance and its citizens through the operationalization of a West African Economic, Social, and Cultural Council.
Government alone cannot really drive this agenda or this kind of transformation required to reposition the region in a way that can respond to this changing terrain. And then civil society, young people, women, all the various citizen groups must have a very critical voice in shaping the future of governance in West Africa.
Citizens must agitate. Citizens must insist that whoever is leading, whoever is governing on their behalf. And they cannot exclude them from the process that's supposed to benefit them. And I'm hoping that, and when we say citizens, not just CSOs, where are the professional groups? Where is the Bar Association, the Pharmacy Council, the accountants?
Participants also speak on how governments can earn citizens' trust.
When you talk to citizens every single day, they will tell you that for them, it is the bread and butter issues that are off. They're not concerned with some of the politics that we want. They just want their needs to be met.
This network of civil society groups believe strongly that democratic backsliding in the West African region can be overcome when a body like ECOWAS is more people-centered and citizens actively participate in governance.
Now to some party politics. The Forum of State Chairmen of the People's Democratic Party is asking former President Goodluck Jonathan to immediately dissociate himself from the Tanimu Turaki group, whom they say are impersonating the party, by sending his credentials to the electoral umpire as the party's presidential candidate, contrary to the authentic list of candidates submitted by the PDP. The forum, which is backed by the Abdurrahman Mohammed-led National Working Committee, also calls on security agencies to immediately investigate members of the Turaki group, accusing them of misrepresenting court judgments and illegally parading themselves as officials of the PDP. The group further urged the Abdurrahman Mohammed National Working Committee to immediately institute a legal process to put an end to what they describe as impersonation and forgery.
For several weeks now, the Nigerian people have been subjected to a deliberate campaign of falsehood, impersonation, and lawlessness by a group of individuals expelled from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, led by Tanimu Turaki Isen. Appeal to former President Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, GCFR. We call on you, in view of the global image and moral authority you command, to address Nigerians directly and disassociate yourself from the continuous use of your name in this spectacle of macabre dance by expelled PDP members. His integrity is too much to be trampled with by these co-travelers who think that they can enter heaven through the back door. It is public knowledge that your name is being used by these shameless people to perpetuate their ignoble activities. This must stop. We call on all security and law enforcement agencies to investigate with immediate effect the criminal and malicious forgery and distortion of court judgments by these co-travelers.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Brent crude falls nearly 5% as Donald Trump halts planned military strike on Iran. That's in Business News. Join us again. What's in the news at 10 coming to you live from our Abuja studios. Momentum keeps building ahead of the Osun State governorship election, and the Accord Party Governorship Campaign Council is seeking assurance from the Inspector General of Police that personnel of the force will be fair and unbiased during the forthcoming poll. Spokesperson of the council, Mr. Pelumi Olajengbesi, made the demand in a petition submitted to the National Human Rights Commission in Abuja. He explained that the recent arrests of party members and the redeployment of the police commissioner back to the state raises concern for the council.
We want the Inspector General of Police to give Nigerian people and the people of Osun State words of assurance and affirmation that the election that is coming will be credible and that the police still have the capacity to provide security for the safety of the people of Osun State. We have every reason now to be worried about the position of the Inspector General of Police. Just last week, we made complaint about the reckless arrest of citizens of Osun State and being detained across the country in different prisons, in different police stations. But interestingly, after people of good conscience raised up their voices against the reckless abuse of government institutions in Osun State, the Inspector General of Police sent a signal that the Commissioner of Police be transferred out of Osun State. And immediately, 26 of our members who were unlawfully arrested were released. Interestingly, for you to know now that the Commissioner of Police, who was said to be transferred, has now been returned to Osun State. We were rightfully informed that the Inspector General of Police was threatened that the Commissioner of Police must be returned to Osun State, and now he has been restated back as the Commissioner of Police in Osun State. It will interest you to know that the Commissioner has been returned back by the police. Now, the Nigerian Police now have two commissioners in Osun State. One is to monitor, one is to supervise the election, and the current commissioner we've complained about is to provide administrative support for the election.
Well, here in the nation's capital, the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike, says his administration plans to transform the abandoned recreational garden at the Life Camp roundabout into a modern leisure and sporting facility. Speaking after inspecting the garden, the FCT Minister stated that the move follows the successful remodeling of the Abuja City Gate, which has become a major attraction since its commissioning last month.
Having come here today, you can see what we're missing. It's unfortunate that government have come, government have gone, nobody have thought about this place. Let me commend the First Lady, and that is what we're talking about, filling the gap of reminding us of keeping areas where people will leave their homes, communities, and come to relax. So what we intend to do here now is to bring it back, give them modern facilities so that people can live within this area can come here and carry out their daily sporting activities, recreation lives, relax, taking pictures, and do other things like the way it is done in well-advanced countries. So I've directed the Executive Secretary, FCDA, to invite Jonas Berger so that they can come here and give us what we think is most befitting for a city like Abuja. We're going to treat this as an emergency.
And that's it from the nation's capital. Over now to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you so much, Millicent. Dangote Industries Limited and Sinoma International Engineering Company Limited have signed a landmark memorandum of understanding valued over $800 million for the expansion of the Dangote cement plant in Itori, Osun State, increasing its production capacity to 12 million metric tons per annum. The agreement was signed by the president of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, and the chairman of Sinoma, Ling Zhong, underscoring the long-standing strategic partnership between the two organizations and their shared commitment to advancing industrial development in Africa.
This memorandum of understanding will, according to the president of Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, significantly increase production capacity of the Itori cement plant, enabling Dangote Cement to further meet growing domestic demand while substantially strengthening its export capabilities. Speaking of the signing ceremony, the president of Dangote Group, who thanked President Bola Tinubu for providing an enabling environment for businesses to thrive, described the project as a major milestone in the company's long-term growth strategy and its commitment to supporting Nigeria's industrialization agenda.
Before even the commission was starting additional vision to double the capacity to 12 million tons. And we hope this one in the next 22 months, it will be ready. The second contract which we are signing with them today is the expansion of our export terminal here in Lagos, where we are exporting cement to other West African countries and up to Central Africa, which is Cameroon.
Responding, the chairman of Sinoma International Engineering Company, Mr. Ling Zhong, expressed delight at the renewed collaboration, stating that the company remains committed to deploying its engineering expertise and cutting-edge technology to ensure the successful execution of the project.
We are determined and committed to provide our best technical know-how and also the best equipment with much better performance and executions for the upcoming new projects to play our fair share and being part of the 2030 strategy and visions of the Dangote Group.
Under the agreement, the expansion is expected to reinforce Nigeria's position as a leading cement-producing nation and expand the country's footprint in regional and international cement markets in driving economic growth, infrastructure development, and sustainable industrialization across Africa.
Let's find out what's happening in the world of business. Here's Will Ibom.
Thank you, Ayo. Now, global oil prices have fallen after U.S. President Donald Trump has said that he has called off a planned military strike on Iran, easing concerns over possibly supply disruptions in the Middle East. Obviously, Brent crude fell nearly 5% to about $84 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate that fell more than 6% to around $79 a barrel. Now, this comes as OPEC has agreed to increase production by about 188,000 barrels in September as part of ongoing efforts to maintain price stability. Now, Nigerians will be watching to see if this translates to lower prices at the pump. Now, gas ports and special economic zones could position Delta State as Nigeria's fourth industrial hub. WTO Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala made these remarks on the sidelines of the Delta State Economic and Investment Summit, where she said the state also has the potential to boost Nigeria's blue economy and reduce its nearly $1 billion annual seafood import bill. She said special economic zones will help attract investment and accelerate industrial growth.
The good thing about it is it has the gas that can power those zones, because without power, without electricity, you cannot have any industry. It has ports, it's by coastline, with potential for 1 or 2 deep sea ports in Burutu, for example, Cocoa and the rest of them. So if you combine that with the fact that it can export its goods very much more easily than other parts, that gives it another comparative advantage. Third thing, it has the sectors that can power industrialization. It's good fertile soils for agro-allied industries. It has some solid minerals that can help it, like kaolin and others. to a power brick and glass industry. And it can also develop a blue economy. Nigeria imports about $866 million worth of seafood, almost $1 billion every year. Delta states can develop its blue economy such that it powers Nigeria's fish consumption rather than spending that money outside.
And with that, we're checking with domestic equities markets, which kicked off the first trading week of August in positive territory. Here's Inicha Mekwa with more.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the stock market report. Well, the market closed negative last week, but investors decided to bring a bit of what they took out last week back into the market. So today, they brought in 288 billion naira, and that has increased the market cap to 158.614 trillion naira. The all-share index is positive 0.18% at 245,730.53. Now, the details of the market today, we look at the sectors. The sectors today, we saw banking. Banking is up 0.75%. First Holdco is a major driver of this green color that we see today. The $1 move is still on right there. Look at other sectors, and we see consumer goods is down 0.24%, mostly because of Dangote Sugar. Dangote Sugar and Nigerian breweries, they experience some profit taking, and industrial goods really catching our eyes today. HBMNG, they gained 4 naira. Since the change of name from Lafarge, we've seen some intentionality around that. Of course, investors have responded positively to that. Now, the top trades today has other types of stories. Aradel, for instance, we did see 4.59 billion in volume of trade, even though there was no change in their price. And also today, Aradel, they did release their first half results unaudited. Accessco, where we had a bad rumor over the weekend about them, but of course that's been cleared out, because the bank in Nigeria can hardly fold up. We have the CBN watching over that. So, but we did experience some profit taking from Accessco. MTN Nigeria, actually a major driver of today's green color. MTN Nigeria had 3.69 billion naira in volume of trade, making up the top trade. But all of this, they've all brought back the bull.
Let's check out the performance of other global indexes now. And that's business news. I'm Willie Bong. It's back to you, Ayo.
Thank you so much, Will. Russian officials say at least 7 people, including 3 people, have been killed by a Ukrainian drone on a beach in southwest Russia. Here's Summer Piers with more international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Iran has denied Donald Trump's claim that new talks on ending the conflict would begin on Monday, after the US president called off what he said would have been massive strikes on the country.
So go ahead.
In an earlier post on Truth Social, Trump said he had been asked by Iran and US allies in the Middle East to hold off as the perimeters of a deal had been agreed. But on Monday, Iran's foreign ministry denied they were negotiating with the US or that there were any plans to do so.
It would have been a massive attack. We're all set to go, but when the allies ask to call it off, you got to sort of say, well, let's see. And the reason they asked is they think there's a deal. There's a deal on Hormuz, and then there will be a deal on the nuclear, or you might call it the denuclearization of Iran. I call it the denuclearization of Iran.
Detained Burmese leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been allowed to meet a delegation from the International Committee of the Red Cross, the first confirmed outside contact with her since a letter to her son 2.5 years ago. In photographs of the meeting released by the military government, Suu Kyi appeared to be healthy. She was detained shortly after the armed forces deposed her government in 2021 and sentenced her to 33 years in jail on what are widely viewed as trumped-up charges, though her sentence has been reduced and she has been moved to house arrest. An apparent Ukrainian drone strike has hit a warehouse belonging to wild berries, often called Russia's Amazon.
Вот он, пидор, блядь. Склад въебал, пидорас.
Video shows an explosion near a warehouse in the Vladimir region, around 112 miles east of Moscow. Wild Berries is Russia's biggest online retailer. Its parent group is valued at around $12.6 billion and has been repeatedly hit by Ukraine in recent weeks. Ukraine says the depots are used to supply the Russian military, a claim Russia denies. Two crew members have been killed after two helicopters collided mid-air in Greece while battling wildfires. The fatalities were a Danish pilot and a Greek fire service liaison officer. A British pilot and another Greek coordinator on the second helicopter survived. Video of the incident, some 65 kilometers west of the capital Athens, shows one of the two Bell helicopters hitting the rotors of the other, which burst into flames and crashed into a ravine. The other aircraft made an emergency landing. Wildfires have broken out in Greece this week, prompting mass evacuations. Japan and the US have confirmed they have jointly intervened to halt a slide in the yen after it weakened to a fresh 40-year low. The joint intervention is the first since 2011, when both countries took coordinated action to weaken the yen after the devastating earthquake and tsunami that hit eastern Japan. Both Japan's Ministry of Finance and US Treasury Secretary Scott Bennett have said they will not hesitate to conduct more joint interventions in the future. It highlights both countries' efforts to prevent a sell-off of the yen and Japanese government bonds from having an impact on the global economy, including potentially helping to push up borrowing costs for Washington. Ariana Grande is set to withdraw from public appearances and will no longer star in an upcoming musical production in London when she ends her Eternal Sunshine tour next month. A representative for the US singer told People magazine that she will be taking a step back from visibility when the tour ends after her appearances led to endless ongoing public scrutiny. Grande's physical appearance and health have been a topic of speculation in recent years. Speculation has increased since the release of her latest album, Petal, 2 days ago, and her appearance in promotional material for it.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The chairman of the National Sports Commission, Shehu Diko, has commended Team Nigeria's athlete for emerging the best-placed African team at the just concluded event for the second games in a row. In an exclusive interview with Channels Television in Glasgow, Scotland, Mr. Diko says there is more work to do as the target is to make an impressive mark at the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles.
So far, so good from all internal purposes. Comparatively, this is the best performance ever for Nigeria at the Commonwealth Games. Secondly, we want to see the position of the work that we have done the last 2 years. How far are the athletes doing, the preparations and what have you, and the arrangement and the way the Team Nigeria is working. And we have seen a very, very good scenario on that. The final outcome is very good. So we want to see what our elite athletes will do, the gaps and everything, because we also have an eye. The Commonwealth Games is not the final on its own. It's part of the process. The end of the game is to make sure that we arrive at the Olympics in 2028, which is the final and the global activities well prepared.
Coach Justin Madugu has warned the Super Falcons to avoid errors going forward if they must secure a World Cup ticket and possibly defend their Women's African Cup of Nations titles. The coach admits he's concerned about the errors witnessed in their last 2 games, but wants the team to stay focused.
It calls for concern because, you know, the higher you go, when you meet maybe much stronger opposition, you make one mistake and you get punished and you never come out of it. So it is something that calls for concern that we need to look at and then see how we can also work on it to make sure that we minimize the kind of mistakes that we make, giving away balls, you know, in a manner that is uncalled for, and then putting ourselves in danger. It's something that we must look at and try to see how we can address that issue, because like I said, you meet some teams, one mistake, they punish you and the door closes.
Serena and Venus Williams will resume their doubles partnership on a wild card entry at this month's Cincinnati Masters, their final big tournament before the U.S. Open. The sisters, who have won 14 major doubles titles and 3 Olympic gold medals, last played doubles together at the 2022 U.S. Open. They received a wild card into the hardcore tournament earlier today, with Venus Williams also set to play singles. And world number 1, Aryna Sabalenka, is bracing up for the WTA 1000 tournament in Toronto as she looks to build momentum on hard court before defending her U.S. Open title. The Belarusian star has now won 23 of her 24 hard court matches this year. The lone defeat was a loss to Elena Rybakina in the Australian Open final. If Sabalenka fails to reach the round of 16 in Toronto, Elena Rybakina can rise to number 1 if she lifts the trophy. That sports is back to you, Ayo.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. Vice President Kashim Shettima today led an array of dignitaries to Asaba for the Delta State Investment Summit and said the federal government is ready to support credible investments by working with states to remove obstacles to enterprises. Senate Committee on Public Accounts today issued a 72-hour ultimatum to the NNPCL, the CBN, NDDC, NUPRC, and other agencies to appear before it over their failure to honor invitations to respond to audit queries. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Osun Balogun. From everyone here, do have a good night.